I remember the morning of September 11th being a beautiful day, a clear fall day.
There wasn't a cloud in the sky, and the sky was the most blue I've really ever seen it.
I was in my third grade classroom in Valley Stream.
I was a 20-year-old college student at the time. I was going to the University of Tampa down in Florida.
I was sitting third period hall duty on the first floor.
I was teaching at the High School of Economics and Finance, across the street from the World Trade Center. As the events unfolded, the first thing we heard was from the building. I was in a classroom with no windows, and the principal's secretary made an announcement, a screaming announcement that there was a shelter emergency. I'd say about 20 minutes or so, we heard rumors of a plane that might have hit the Trade Center, a helicopter that might have hit the World Trade Center. I was curious to know what was going on. We weren't getting very good information.
As far as I know, there were no TVs hooked up in the building that we had access to. All we had was a little radio in the social studies office that we were going back and forth and listening to. So listening to it on the radio was even scarier than seeing it because we had no idea what was going on.
We had cell phones, but we didn't have iPhones where we can research anything. It was just basically to call somebody and maybe text. Our TVs we were not using our TVs at the time, and we did not really have internet access.
I had called a pharmacy for a prescription and spoke to a pharmacist who randomly told me to put the news on. I put the news on, and I was totally shocked and upset when I saw that the building had been hit.
I remember going up with a couple of teachers and the then head custodian and sneaking out onto the roof actually, and we could see the smoke from the top of South High School, which was absolutely crazy. And
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Metropolitan Avenue. It's kind of like Merrick. And all of the cars were stopped. People were up on their roofs and the hoods of their cars looking. Because in Middle Village, where I worked, you can see the towers, you could see the skyline, and you could see the towers burning.
From this particular classroom that I'm sitting in right now, you used to be able to look out that window and you could see the Twin Towers. There was a lot of smoke that you could see from this room, and a bunch of us had gathered here on our prep period and looked out the window and could see the smoke from here.
I was still on hall duty. Students were running downstairs to guidance, making phone calls. You saw fear in their eyes, tears going down their face, wondering, my dad works in the building, is he there? Or, I need to leave. Parents picking up their children.
For me, it was an extra scary day. My husband is a New York City fireman. He was down there that day, one of the lucky ones. I got him back. Many people did not. He stayed down there for a while, digging, as did many people, hoping to find people alive, and then it turned into more of a recovery as opposed to a rescue. My son is named after his best friend that died that day, and he was a captain in Rescue 2.
Later that day, when I went home in the afternoon, my parents told me that my uncle worked for Cantor Fitzgerald and he had actually passed away in the terrorist attack.
I thought about my friend's husband who works there. So I called my friend and she told me that he said everything was okay. But as we know, the second building was subsequently hit and he never came home. So it was a very, very sad time for all of us. We lost a really good friend.
You think about your family back wherever you live, and I was from Long Island. You didn't know if this was the only thing that was happening either. So it was, there was a lot of emotions going on, and I guess at the top of it was, fear. Like this was something that we had not seen in my lifetime. Someone, doing an attack like this on American soil.
I was very fortunate in one of my first years working here to be invited to chaperone the junior dinner or the prom in 1998 or 1999. That was held, of all places, in a fantastic catering hall restaurant windows on the world. And that was the last time I was in the Twin Towers, and it was such a beautiful night before only a couple of years later it turned into such a horrible nightmare of an event.
The students and the teachers were on the same ground. We all were fearful. We all had hope. We all supported one another. I remember, I lived in Manhattan at the time, and I remember a student coming to me to see if I was okay. You know, usually it's the teacher going to the student. And we really developed a strong bond, and it was a very tough day.
When I reflect upon that day, there's a lot of sadness and grief. But all of that is outshined from me to the moment I was here. And that defining moment was when we had that announcement and we all heard the news, and every single person in this building, faculty, kids, came together that day in just an instant.
I was living in Brooklyn at the time. There was a gathering of all residents where I lived to celebrate or to commemorate the firefighters of the local house who had perished in their rescue. Our school was shut down. We were eventually relocated to a school in Midtown Manhattan, and the day we arrived, each teacher received a package, a bag that included a laptop device, textbooks. We had t-shirts from a high school in Texas, Nacogdoches, Texas. Texas stands with New York. There was an outreach, an outpouring of support from people all over the United States.
I know my friends and I, we volunteered at a restaurant called Nino's that used to feed the rescue workers when they were trying to find the remains of the lost souls. And some nights I would be a waitress, some nights I would be washing the dishes. Teachers went behind the cafeteria counter to help the cafeteria staff because we had closed down lunches. Every single person came together as a family.
Being in third grade, I didn't really understand the entire magnitude of the day. But something I remember that was really nice about after 9/11 was every single house on my block had an American flag up. And actually, a lot of the houses in Valley Stream had American flags up. And I just remember that sense of community.
But what transpired from that, the next day everybody wore red, white, and blue. Those police officers, those firefighters, the paramedics, they were our heroes, and we really, really came together in support in this community. And I think anybody who was in this building on that day, that's a never forget moment. And it's something that made our country very, very strong and patriotic.
I used to make a daily run to 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee because it would cool my throat and I would be able to talk through the day. And I'll never, ever, ever forget the person working the counter. He was like, here, take an American flag pin. Here, take an American flag pin. Here, take an American flag pin. And you could tell that this young man really just wanted to celebrate all the positives that the United States stands for. And I really appreciated that. And it's something I still think about each year on that day.
South High, I know, wanted to try to rally and do something as South High always does. And I remember there being an event on the football field where we made like a chain of kids writing down thoughts, and certain kids linked all around the track, and certain teachers spoke and messages of unity.
It was a horrible time, but a beautiful time. May we always remember those heroes who came together in that tragedy and helped all of us, and the unity that came out of that day. May it come back to America, and may all those who lost their lives rest in peace.
Our country was attacked and we need to stick together, and I wish we could get that feeling back and hope that one day we will. But it was a tragic day. It's 20 years ago. For all you students who were not born yet, you're living through tough times right now in this global pandemic. And one day you will be the primary source on this event to tell a child that hasn't been born yet what it was like. So this is what history is, and it's important that we never forget these events and we carry these memories for all generations.